What's up, everybody? This is another episode of Sports-REUBEN-LIFE. This is Ruben here. Today, I'm going to talk about college football. This Saturday, you have a very pivotal game, right? You have a very influential game on the outcome of the future rankings, and it could shift things up, right? Around this time of the year, the college football rankings are kind of solidified. You know who's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. They just have to win their games out, although they have the conference championship games. And sometimes there's two highly ranked teams that are in the conference championship game. But this weekend we're kind of ending off the regular season where you're going to have two teams fight or two teams play rather, that are going to be the Nittany Lions of Penn State versus the Buckeyes of Ohio State. Ohio State Buckeyes are ranked number 2 in the nation, and Penn State's ranked number 8. Penn State has a loss. Ohio State is undefeated, right? So here are the questions of this whole thing, right? Ohio State's favored by 18.5 points, right? We don't think the Nittany Lions are that good, and the over-under is 58, so there's virtually going to be no defense being played in this whole thing, right? Is Ohio State that dynamic and that good in terms of, who they, how they're just going to score and score and score? Now, the Nittany Lions are a very good team, although they did lose to Minnesota, so that's kind of a weird loss that they have. The question is, if Penn State didn't lose this weird game to Minnesota, would they be ranked higher? Would this be a tougher game? Would the point spread be a little bit thinner than 18.5 points? That's basically 3 touchdowns, right? Let's just call it what it is. It's essentially 3 touchdowns. And so the reason why this game is so pivotal, too, is because if Ohio State loses, it throws the whole kind of rankings in the world. It throws it all off, right? LSU is obviously number 1. Ohio State's number 2. Clemson number 3. Georgia's number 4, right? And Alabama is number 5, right? So then the question is, does Alabama do they get in the top 4 if Ohio State loses? Right? That's the question. Georgia has 1 loss. They lost to South Carolina in overtime, right? So if Penn State wins, if Ohio State loses, there's 2 questions. Does Alabama get into the top 4 into the championship rounds, right? But then I talked to some people, and here's their opinion, and it's a very valid opinion. If Ohio State loses, and now basically there's 4 teams with 1 losses trying to get into that 4th spot, does the fact that Alabama's injury to their starting star quarterback, is that going to sway voters into saying, well, they're not really who they are? They're not 9-1 because of this other pivotal player who's filling in because of injury, right? It's a tremendous point. I like this point, this go back and forth, right? This is where it gets interesting in college football, where you have these 4 teams. You have basically 3 teams that are undefeated. Georgia 9-1, Alabama 9-1, Oregon 9-1. They're going to play in the Pac-12 championship, right? Then you have Penn State at number 8, which is 9-1. You have Utah 9-1 as well, right? So Penn State's number 8. If they win, do they get bumped up all the way to within the top 4? That's the question. Does Ohio State get supplanted? Clemson goes to number 2, Georgia goes to number 3, and Alabama do the dominoes just move up? Or does Penn State leapfrog? Very interesting outcome because of this game, right? And then you have, who is LSU playing? This weekend, LSU is playing Arkansas. That's a good game. LSU shouldn't lose that game. Ed Orgeron's on a roll. They shouldn't lose that game, right? But this Penn State-Ohio State game has a ton of significance. Here's the crazy, quirky thing about this game, too. It's on at 9 o'clock Pacific time. So, in other words, you got to get up super early in the morning if you're on the West Coast to watch this really pivotal game that NCAA football is putting on this weekend. Very interesting outcome of how things are going to shuffle out. Some teams are going to be super disappointed, but then you look at, some people are going to be happy. Is Georgia going to stay in? Is Georgia going to get bumped off? We don't know, right? Who do you play, right? A lot of people say Clemson had a bunch of layup a bunch of layups, right? Games, right? However, who do they play on the 30th? They don't play this weekend, but who do they play on the 30th? South Carolina. And who did, even though South Carolina is 4-7, who did they beat? Georgia, right? So here's a question, dude. Here's a crazy question. If South Carolina beats Georgia and Clemson, if you did the funky math, technically they beat 2 top 5 teams. But I digress, because they don't have a very good record. I haven't dug deep into that, but that's an amazing and interesting thing here. Clemson and Georgia are gonna have a game that they played against a common foe, a team, right, in South Carolina. So that's gonna be interesting, right? We're not gonna look forward to the conference championship games. We're gonna look for right now, right? What's gonna happen with this weekend? What are we gonna look at here? That is the game of all the games you want to watch. Ohio State and Penn State are going to battle it out. That's going to be for all the marbles. Who's going to make the playoffs, right? If Ohio State wins, then it might just be status quo. Okay, we're going to assume, we're going to say that, okay, if that happens, then there's really nothing too interesting. There's not a big shakeup unless Clemson loses, right? Then it's going to allow for somebody else to come in and figure it out, right? Somebody else can be able to creep into the top 4. But one of the things about if Penn State wins, which they can win, if they do win, then they're in, right? They have a chance. They can lobby to get bumped up. Now they were ranked 9th, they bumped up, and I'm sure that that one loss is really biting them in the behind, because would Penn State be in the top 4 if they were undefeated? I want to say yes. I want to say if Penn State was undefeated, and we're doing a lot of ifs and whats here, I get you, but Ruben, they're not undefeated, yes, but I'm saying if they were, are they at that caliber of a team? And if that is the case, essentially, you're going to be playing, basically, if they didn't lose that weird game, where they, it's just an anomaly. Sometimes you're not your sharpest, and other people, when you have a really good team coming down, they play their absolute best of all time. So that being said, is this a better matchup than we're looking at? Is the 18-point spread, the over-under 58, is that really justified, right? When we look at the preview of the game, right? And what I mean by 18.5-point spread, that means that Ohio State is expected to score more than 18.5 points. In other words, they're giving them like an 18.5-point deficit that Penn State is going to, Ohio State is starting with. So they consider that a win, right? This is all betting stuff, but it's a good indication as to where people are kind of seeing where these two teams stand in terms of where they really are, right? And then you have, the 58 over/under, meaning the higher the over/under, which is 58 points, means that the combined score, they're going to score 58 more or less points. That higher that number means there's going to be less defense being played, right? The offenses are going to be more powerful, right? So, I really like this game. Check it out. Ohio State versus Penn State, number 2 versus number 8. This is the game of the week. This is the game to end the season. That's going to really, if Penn State gets the victory, it's going to scramble everything right there. We're probably going to agree that LSU is going to be number 1, and they're going to go in there number 1, right? But we'll see what happens. So anyways, this is my take on college football. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I do videos on Facebook and YouTube. Just go down in the description. The description shows everything. It'll show today's video. It'll show today's video on the other. It'll show the other video. So, anyways, like, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think. The comments are really cool. I appreciate you guys that are watching. I really enjoy doing these videos, and I like your feedback. Talk to you guys later. Bye.